All righty, everybody. We had the awesome surprise of Mr. Jim getting in touch with us. I had literally just wrapped up the little update video we were doing, and he messaged me. We were working out some little technical difficulties that we were experiencing. Excuse me, but we ended up working through them, getting them set up, and we're rip roaring ready to go. I'm in a little bit of a rainstorm here. Mr. Jim's up in the lovely Canadian territories up there, and he's experienced some amazing snow. So we're gonna have a nice little chat here while we're staying in out of the elements. So Mr. Jim McKay here has joined us, and as I mentioned, he is a Canadian citizen, our first foreign fighter, especially our foreign fighter that's fought for SOG. He served originally was with the 82nd, then was attached to the 5th group, where he served with Project Sigma, and ended up finding his way. Well, he'll tell his story, but he found his way to the Mike forces, and also ended up in the 47th company in Thailand, which is a big, interesting point for me. I'm very interested in those guys. And later on, he was also with the 7th group in Panama. And we're going to see how far we get today with time and everything. We might not cover everything today. We'll just see what we get to. But before I jibber jabber too much, I'm going to hand it off to Mr. Jim and let him introduce himself, and we'll get with the questions.
Good afternoon, Bud, and whoever's listening. My name is Jim McKay, and I live in Cape Breton Island, Nova Scotia. I've got about 5 feet of snow on my back deck, so doing a lot of shoveling. Anyway, let's go.
How we'll get right into it here. You as you mentioned, you're from Canada, Nova Scotia. We For those of y'all, let me go ahead and mention I will be linking his 2 interviews with our friend Jason Collins, another Canadian. Had 2 great interviews with Mr. Jim. I'll be linking those into the show notes. But first off, was there a strong military influence in your family, or were you the first one? Of course, being in the U.S., but did you have any family members that served in the Canadian Armed Forces?
I had an uncle that was a paratrooper in the Canadian Forces. Yeah.
Wow. We're always curious about that, to see about the men that either the very first in their family that joined, or if they have a lineage, so to speak. But you had an uncle that served.
Yeah.
Did Was the first thing that kind of got you to the States, was that when you decided to be a Franciscan monk, when you were working on becoming a monk?
Yeah, that's the reason I went down to the States was I was studying to be a Franciscan monk, and that didn't work out till I picked another field. I was an underpaid mercenary in a way.
Now, what year did you end up coming to the States to attempt to become a monk?
That was 1962, and I entered the army in 1965. Um, Went through basic at Fort Dix, went to AIT at Fort Knox, Kentucky. Seen a paratrooper, asked him what he was, and he said he jumped out of planes. And I said, no, not for me. He said $55 a month.
That
Really
immediately
big
caught
thing.
your attention.
Yeah. So yeah, I took a Greyhound, just me and the driver, and we drove to Fort Benning, and I went to jump school, and then I went to the 82nd, and I put in for NOM, and went down, and I took the Special Forces entrance test and whatnot, passed that, and orders came for NOM, and like I said to NOM, when I got there, and since I had passed the test to get into SF, I got assigned to SF, and story goes from there.
Wow, that's super interesting. We'll take a tiny step back. When you getting into the military in '65, how prevalent was the war at this time? I mean, of course, you knew you had been seeing the news. I'm sure. I thought I remember you saying you had been watching the news and seeing the Americans dying, and that kind of spurred you to say you could go help people. Was it prevalent on base and hearing about it a lot?
No, it was me. I just wanted to help people, and no big thing. It's just my makeup.
Now, with you being and as we'll see, we've got some great photos of your work saving people, taking care of people. What how did you, when you were with the 82nd, you passed your shall we say your entrance exam, if you will, to special forces. What was your MOS before special forces? Because when you got into Sigma, I mean, you seemed like you already knew a little bit about medical, being a medic, so
Well,
to speak.
well, what happened was when I was in the Trang at the headquarters, they had teams, A teams that had around the Trang, and they would send out ambushes in the evenings, and so I strap hang. I volunteered to go out on my day off if they were having one. I'd go, and the first mission I was with, the first time I was out, I was with Sergeant No, and I was staying pretty close to him, and the next thing I know, it's about a half hour, we were moving out around the paddies, and shit hit the fan, and the next thing I know, he was dead, and it was my first introduction to all this. But I continued to strap hang at different outposts. We were at the Triangle headquarters. It wasn't occasionally; it was all the time. We were getting mortared. The BC had come and just mortared, the compounds.
With you being in a train, was this were you on an A team there, like A502 or A503 or anything? Or
No. I was assigned to the headquarters, but these A teams, the headquarters is in the Triangle. It was an air base there. They had the finance, personnel, helicopter, artillery. They had everything there at the Triangle, and then the A teams would be out from the Triangle, different hamlets and whatnot. And they'd be going out they were doing patrols around their area and trying to minimize the ability of the Recon come in to attack the main headquarters.
Wow, that's interesting because we've several well-known SF SOG men were kind of maybe not in HQ, but stationed at the Trang A502 and A503. Mr. Jerry Shriver, who will come up in a little bit, was there. And then that's how he found his way over to Omega. And then some of the A502 guys were running ambushes and such as that with some indigenous, or not indigenous, with Rock Marines. So we've heard a little bit about that, but that's very interesting. You being in headquarters company and volunteering to strap hang like that. Did you have a COT course, aka combat orientation course, when you first got in country?
Yes, they took it out to an island and ran us through that. Yeah.
Wow. Did you with your training?
That was pretty interesting.
Go.
There was no enemy on the island, and but they would go out on patrols and whatnot, and to learn.
Did you feel like after the COT course, did you feel pretty comfortable with your ability? Do you think you were adapting pretty well? Do you think you were gonna gonna be able to do it?
Oh yeah, there's no problem with it. No, it was I was 20 years old.
Young,
Not
dumb,
yeah,
and full of
yes,
testosterone.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a different age.
It's amazing, guys. Y'all see in a minute. I mean, they look like kids. I mean, they were kids. I mean,
Oh, we were.
you definitely. I mean, guys are doing crazy stuff today, but you'd be hard pressed to find the United States letting some Spec fours or privates or E5s, running cross-border deniable missions into China or whatever today. It's just amazing what you young men, what you guys were doing back in that day.
Back in that day, the world was different. We didn't have a phone in our hands all the time, and it's just a different world.
Night and day difference from what we're experiencing. Speaking of phones, I mean, here I am sitting doing an interview and it's laying right next to me. It's so interesting there. You pass your test. You get signed and attached to the 5th group. You're immediately wanting to strap hang after the cock course, and you already get your first taste of combat. Sadly, it's the real deal, and you experience a loss of a fellow soldier. How many would you think missions or strap hangings or outings did you do before you found your way to Sigma, and how exactly did you find your way into Sigma?
Well, it was kind of got a little reputation that I could handle the situation. So I was offered to let a sergeant major go down to Sigma, and I had extended another 6 months. So they sent me down to Sigma, and that's another thing that the Sigma headquarters. Yeah. And right after I got there, there was a big battle. First company went in, and they got into a pile of shit. So the colonel called back and said, send me another company. So we made up another company of the mortar platoon, the Recon platoon, the camp defense platoon, and we went in, and it was a kind of the NVA, we found out later, had got in between the two companies. And but we were able to put some 60 mortar in and get them to move out, and then we joined up with the get into perimeter of the first company, and they had us surrounded for 4 days. We found out later it was an NVA battalion. After 4 days, we ran out of water. We were low on ammunition, and finally the 5th Corps Mike Force, they had 3 companies, and they broke through. And with their 3 companies and what we had left, we were able to be rescued. Lost a lot of people that day.
I can't. I mean, I can't even imagine. There you are. I mean, 20, maybe you, I don't know, depending on your birthday, you might have been 21 by now, but I mean, there you are surrounded on 3 sides by NVA. And I think, God almighty, I meant to have it out. I think this is the mission where we're talking about, to where you might get your first Bronze Star, or maybe your Purple Heart, and it literally says you're surrounded by, as you said, on 3 sides. And this book says a battalion, and it indicated anywhere between 500 to 1,000. You told me it could be anywhere from 400 to 600.
Well, I mean, I didn't see them.
Yeah, yes,
They were
yes,
shooting at me. I was trying to keep my head down. Right?
yes,
No,
sir.
yeah, they were. But we found after the Fifth Corps Mike Force broke through their lines, we found documents and whatnot, and checking their bodies and whatnot. We found out it was battalion, NBA battalion.
I mean, there's there's really not that many people. I've only been doing this religiously for about 6 years, and there's a lot of people that do it, more than I could ever know being there, but there's not many men, teams, groups that came up against a battalion and had many of the men live to tell the tale. I mean, Lynn Blackson saw glory with RT Alabama at CCN for taking on over a little bit more than a battalion. And what was that like? I mean, you of course your head was down, but I mean, here you are, a young guy out on your first couple of recons, and you're against an NBA battalion.
We had two companies. It wasn't a recon team. When we went to recon and found them, then we went back and reported. That's when they sent the company in. And then after the company got in, they got into shit. And so that's when they sent another company in. So we had two companies, but we didn't know it was battalion. And it was constant fighting for like 4 days.
I'm gonna try and find, because I promised you, and I won't do that, because not only for me promising you, but also I don't believe people need to see this on the internet, but it kind of show I don't believe this is the exact incident, but just to give the people kind of what you're up against here. I mean, I think this was when Mr. Jim was with the Mike forces, but I mean, guys,
No. This is that's that operation. That's one of our troops rolled in a poncho.
Oh my God!
And then the other troops behind him, in a little bit of shade, are a couple of more of our troops. There was like a lull in the fighting, so we were getting our bodies, getting ready so you could get a chopper in to get our KIAs out. Okay, this is just one of them.
I mean, guys, I mean, imagine this: you're two companies, and Mr. Jim, how many men is two companies in this instance?
Well, we probably had about 200 people on the ground.
Oh God! So it's anywhere from 200 against upwards of 5 to maybe 700, depending on who you're going to ask and hear it from. And imagine, guys, I mean, this is about as much cover as you're going to get unless you're going to be on the ground. Again, okay, I can show that one. There's a few in here I got to be careful that I don't want to pull up. But I mean, look at this, guys. This is the jungle that just eats you up, that you hear about Vietnam veterans talking about. And as you can see, here are some troopers right here. There's a radio pack. I just can't imagine. And you've got 3 on side of you, and you're holding out until the Mike Force sends in a company to break through. At this point in time, are airstrikes coming in? What do you have at y'all's disposal besides fighting them out yourself?
We had artillery. We had we were right on the fence. I couldn't tell you which side of the fence we were on, but we were right on the fence.
And guys, on the fence means Cambodia or Laos. In this case, I believe Cambodia.
This is Sigma.
Sigma.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
This is Sigma. So where was I here with this one?
The air and artillery.
Yeah. So like we ran out of water, and so they were trying to get. They put canteens. They fill duffel bags full of canteens,
I've got that
and
photo.
the idea was to come in close outside of our perimeter, right on the perimeter, and then drop these duffel bags full of canteens full of water for us. But when they were coming in, uh, they got shot down, and they crashed land outside of the perimeter. Now these are the canteens that I was able to get to the right there. These guys here to the right, these guys here, that was the helicopter crew that I saved. Uh,
God.
they were burnt to fuck. I got burnt a little bit, but I was able to get a lot of the duffel bags, the chopper, and I had a couple of ditch with me, and got them, and that's how we got the water.
How
But
how far outside your, shall we say, perimeter did the birds go down to where you and your endage had to thankfully save these men's life? How far did y'all have to go out of?
probably 30, 40 meters.
Whew. Oh my God, Mr. Jim. Um, and were you? I'm assuming this was you right here, walking.
Yeah.
With you and a few endage, and I'm seeing I think three pilots right here. Um,
There's
how
two
in
pilots. No, there's the two pilots and got crew chief and the door gunner. There's four people on the chopper.
how in God's name did you get four Americans back with just you and
Oh no, I
did
had the ditch with me.
you had enough to where they could carry the big Americans?
Oh, we did. They were when we got them out. They were all burnt, but they were able to walk and whatnot. And we
Oh,
scooted them back into the inside of the perimeter, and then our medics got on them right away and working on them. But we
holy.
we still never got them out for. Yeah, we tried to dig for water. We couldn't even we dug we tried it. It was hot, and we had like no 200 and no water.
God. I think the photo that we were just showing and you talking about having to go out and get the canteens and those stacks of canteens, guys, that should show you how bad of a situation that is. I mean, that for them to even take the chance and sit here and try and dig for water, I mean, that shows you this is bad news. Did you end up finding water by digging?
No. Well, you can
No,
see how dry it is, and that hole there. We're down maybe a foot and a
three.
half. It was just dry, and it was hot. God, it was hot.
Jeez
I could
Louise.
use a little bit of that heat now. It's like minus 20.
Like I was saying offline, my week of my week of snow was more than I could take. I don't see how y'all do that. And guys, here's another great photo of the jungle right here. I mean, I just it's crazy enough being recon teams going through the jungle, but when you're surrounded like this, I can't imagine what it's like with men in this jungle right here, shooting, moving, and I just can't imagine what that's like.
Well,
How long?
in that picture there, where I was laying on the ground, I wasn't moving around too much. There was shit coming in at that time.
Were had the NVA at that point, were they just gun battling out with y'all, or were they launching mortars and bringing all
Oh
they
yeah,
could?
they were trying. Thank God for the trees. We had different canopies, and so it was difficult for them to get the mortars into the perimeter.
Holy cow. And I think I've got a photo of one of your, I think when you're with a recon team here.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Do you have is that an AK chest rig you've got on?
Yeah,
Wow.
I like the AK.
That's I continually get questions. It seems like a lot of the Sigma, the CCS teams and Americans, they in Cambodia, it seems like a lot more of them used the AKs even when they weren't quote unquote going as a funny team or looking like an NBA team, that y'all would just go in your tiger stripes or your regular uniforms using AKs.
Yes. The only problem with there's a thing, Echo Sierra, Eldest Son
Oh, yes,
was
sir.
yeah. So when I'd be filling my AK magazines, I'd be always wondering where these rounds come from. And I was usually putting the rounds or round mortars, what have you, with caches and whatnot for our friends.
Yeah, that is
Oh,
and guys, if,
instead of just to explain, instead of having powder inside the rounds or
yes.
the mortar rounds, or it would be C4 or some other type of explosive that would. So when they get it, when they fired it, their weapon would blow up in their face, and so not only did it affect the person that fired it, the morale was diminished by when this got around it. Possibility when you fire your weapon, it's going to blow up in your face or your mortars.
I was about to say, and it just wasn't the the AK rounds. Y'all had the mortars, y'all had the RPGs doctored. I mean, y'all had everything you possibly could.
Oh yeah, definitely. Anything you find in a cat, and they did a great job in manufacturing something replicas of what the enemy had. I believe they had something going on in Okinawa that
CISO,
manufactured.
yes, sir. CISO,
Yeah.
counterinsurgency support office. I'm butchering that, but if I'm not mistaken, it's something around that, run by Mr. Ben Baker.
They were good at what they did.
Absolutely. Just from seeing what all y'all had.
I delivered a lot of their product.
I always ask when guys bring up, and I always ask them, it's like, how many Eldest Son rounds or Eldest Son missions you think you went on? He's like, it wasn't just missions. Anytime I had that went out, I had Eldest Son, and I would sprinkle them whenever I could, all over the place.
Drop a magazine here, there,
Yeah. Oh, and a rude awakening, as you said, is about to come somebody's way, or whoever picks that magazine up and uses it. Yeah, yes, sir. I know we're about to take a bit of a step back, but it just jogged my memory looking at our notes, because if I'm not mistaken, you actually met who everybody is wanting to know about, and the legendary man himself, Mr. Jerry Shriver. Did you meet Mr. Jerry before you went to Sigma?
Yes. I met him in the train.
I thought you'd like that one.
Now, this is a side of Jerry that I didn't know. No, I met Jerry in the Trang in the Playboy Club in the Trang, and there wasn't anybody else in the club at the time. We hit it off, and when I told him I was a Canadian, he was kind of interested in me. And whenever he'd come to the Trang, we'd get together and we'd go and have something to eat, some beer, and get a massage or something like that. Yeah, but we hit it off, and then when I got to Sigma, he came and visited, and there's an article in the book SOG, and it's at where I went in Stockdale, went in on a prisoner snatch, and it says myself and Stockdale and another American, but I wonder why he never, you know. But Jerry strapped tag too. He used to take in country R&Rs. Yeah.
I had it laid out because I was actually reading about it. And of course, now that I'm trying to find it, I'll never find it. Let's see if that's it. Here we are. I'll just read a tidbit. They're talking about the M3, the grease gun, which of course Mr. Jerry was notorious for using. SOGmen preferred it because the M3 held a steady, almost no muzzle rise. One of SOG's legendary 1-0s, Jerry Mad Dog Shriver, carried a Caprice grease gun. An acquaintance of Shriver's, RT Hammer's 1-0, Mr. Jim McKay, brought a suppressed grease gun along for a prisoner snatch in the Fishhook region of Cambodia, which sadly was near where Jerry would meet his end. Just 3 hours after insert, McKay and his 1-1, Mr. Brian Stockdale, absolute amazing recon man, and the American accompanying them, Mr. Jerry, in 4 yards came to a series of high-speed trails. Cargo-laden bicycles rolled past. Loud voices called out for several directions. They found bundle of communication wires 2 inches thick. We knew there was something pretty major going down. 1-0 McKay figured they better attention snatch immediately and get away. While Stockdale radioed the fact, McKay arrayed the team along the trail and cocked his grease gun. They take the next man who came across the trail. And about that time, someone comes up and Mr. Jim gets him. But sadly, as it is known to do, sometimes the grease gun does a little jam action. And
you're embarrassing me.
It's not your fault. It's those dadgum open bolt guns, you know. And those of y'all that have read the book knows, but they end up getting through good. Something happens. The gun is set down, and that closed bolt or open bolt again just causes havoc. Little misfire happened, but they get their POW and they get the heck out of there without a hitch. So that's and there's more to that. I didn't want to give away the entire story if y'all don't have his book yet, but that's Mr. Jerry and Mr. Jim on a mission together, grabbing a prisoner with RT Hammer. So we hear about Mr. Jerry going out with 100 weapons. He's got a grease gun, a Tommy gun. He's got 4 pistols and blah blah blah. Can you kind of tell us what the real Jerry was? I mean, I know that's hard to do, but I've even heard that he only carried a pistol in an operation and said, if I need one, there'll be enough laying around. Can you kind of give us?
Not really, because like I said, I didn't really work with him. He was up at different camps and whatnot. But as far as what he did in the field, other than that one mission, that was the only time. All the other times were drinking beer and living the life.
Was Klaus around? The dog?
Like I said, I wasn't at Jerry. Jerry came to my camp, Octal.
Okay. I was going to see, because this is actually, sadly, after Jerry passed away, and these are a group of the Green Hornets adopted Klaus until, sadly, he met his fate from the dadgum Vietnamese. But I was going to see if he was around in the bar, because we all know Jerry didn't care where he was going. The dog was going with him.
Well, when he came to Sigma to see me, he never had the dog with him. So.
Wow.
I never met the dog.
Wow. Okay.
Excuse me. I met the mad dog.
Yeah, yeah. You did meet one of the dogs.
One of the dogs.
And folks don't know he had an earlier dog that sadly was killed as well, named Adolf. And speaking of dogs, my pit bull is joining us. He had Adolf, and then he ended up buying Klaus. And I've got a photo, and now I need to bring it up because he also had a monkey. But the man we're talking to, he also had a monkey. Can you tell us where in the heck do you get a monkey when you're in special forces in Vietnam?
Well, we were. You go to the market. They sold them in the market.
Okay. And is the
You
local
get a lot of
market?
things. You can get almost anything. You get birds. You can get snakes. Yeah, that's a little fella. Colonel Drake had his room. He had an air conditioner in it, all plastic, and that little sucker just tore the shit out of it. So I got a good ass to and had to replace it, and told to get rid of him.
Did you follow that last order?
Oh yeah. He's free.
That's great. And guys, this is actually from Jason. This photo particular. I do have the other photo that Mr. Jim sent me, but I thought this was a great graphic and a way to promote Jason Collins's Pucker Factor series, to where he has a write up on Mr. Jim and Mr. Manny Beck, who we'll actually be bringing up in just a moment as well. But this is from his article on the Canadians serving in special forces during Vietnam, which is a great list. I did not realize there were as many Canadians in SOG, much less special forces as a whole. Very interesting.
Could I on the 5th of July this year in Windsor, Ontario, we have a wall here in Canada of all the Canadians that went missing or got killed in Vietnam.
Oh,
there's 176 Canadians either missing or died in Vietnam. So they're going to have a ceremony on the 5th of July in Windsor, Ontario, if anybody's interested.
Wow. I absolutely. I'll be keeping a lookout out on that because heck, I mean, it wasn't just relegated to special forces. I mean, there were quite a few there were quite a few Canadians that were serving with the Marine Corps. My father specifically would mention what little bit he would talk about his time in country. He would speak about one of his sergeants that went by the name Frenchie, who was from Montreal. And he said, there's Jerry in his ill-fitting VC garb that he managed to pick up. But he said he spoke highly of the Canadians he came in contact with. And as you can see, if you look up in Jason's book, or you can just Google the Canadians serving in Vietnam, and all of them served with distinction. Like Mr. Jim, and all of y'all know Mr. Rob Graham from CCS, who actually went out on an operation with a bow and arrow one time. So crazy Canadians, as they were called. Let's see here. We've kind of actually, let me do this because the guys have been patient, and I'll get back to mine real quick. A few questions from the viewers. Jason, we got that earlier. I'm sorry. He did. He had an uncle who was a Canadian paratrooper. Jason is curious. We didn't get quite all the way into it, but what was air support like working with the Mike Force as opposed to the SOG organization? I know SOG had world at their fingertips, but they had some time for the birds to get in.
When I worked with the Mike Force and 4th Corps, it's a lot different. It's not as much jungle. There's a lot of rice paddies. It's open. Terrain is different. It's flat. Gunships were on call. Artillery was on call whenever we went out. our job was to run Recon for the Mike Force. Our job was to make contact. Whereas when we ran Recon for Sigma, my job wasn't to make contact. And so when we'd make contact, when we'd find something, depending on the size, we'd radio back and they'd either send me a platoon or a company in, and we'd continue until they got in, and then we'd break and get extracted. That answer your question?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Did and continuing on a little bit with the air power aspect as we're going to more questions. Did Sigma have a assigned air unit, or was it kind of any air unit in y'all's vicinity that was?
I remember primarily working with the Greyhounds.
Yes, sir. 241st, I think, or 281st.
Yeah.
They actually flew did the mission that Mr. Roy Benavidez earned his Medal of Honor on, the Greyhounds.
Yeah. Yeah. I was in Sydney, Australia when that happened.
R&R? I'm sure that was a good time for you down there.
Yeah, Musso. I ran Recon with Musso and Mazak and yeah.
Mr. Mazak. Yes, he was actually a Czech Republic soldier, was he not? Or from the Czech Republic, I mean.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
WW2 experience, and I believe Korea as well. I think this was his third combat.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
when I got to Sigma, he took me under his wing. We were in the bar having a beer, and that's where you from? And I said, Canada. So
two of the foreign guys are going to hook up.
I got into a lot of shit being from Canada.
There y'all are, the nice guys, and stay out of everybody's business. But seems like every time you bring up Canada, you're gonna get drug into something, or somebody's gonna start jabbering about something.
I'm just sick of all the ugly. It's just we were family, and I guess it happens to family too.
It does.
I don't want to get into it, please.
Yeah, I mean we're brothers for Christ's sake. I mean,
really.
Yeah, absolutely. Where I was with 355 job, as you and I'm sure Sigma will pop back up. Sneeze and walk away, buddy. Thank you. Doberman now sneezing in the background. While you were in training group, I believe Jason joined a little bit later. Did you hear murmurs of SOG while stateside before you went to Vietnam?
Not really, no.
Still pretty mum on that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I think it was not until 96 that it was declassified. 6 presidents denied that we existed.
Wow. So, I mean, you didn't even run across an old head that maybe slipped up and said CNC or maybe, FOB4 or anything like that. It was pretty.
No, not. I didn't run in that circle at the time. I hadn't.
82nd, yes, sir.
Yeah, I was in the 82nd, so it was a different scenario.
I didn't even think about that part. That very well plays into that. And as we, I'm sure a Sigma question is going to come up, but next on my notes, we're wanting to know about, here we go. And I've got 2 more that'll come later, but I was curious about the Sigma, the mission for Sigma, I believe, is Recon, POW grabs, wiretaps, and rescues. But I believe in one of the interviews, or someone had mentioned in one of the books, that it took y'all for you to be able to grab in 3 POWs before you got one of your big R&Rs? Was it only 1 POW, or did you have to get 3 men off the out of the field before you could get a free R&R?
I don't really know how that worked. I just know that it was very difficult, to get a prisoner, right?
Oh God.
So yeah, so I just know that I was with this here Sergeant Sims, and we got this last prisoner, and well, I shot him in the legs, and then we got on him, and we got on, and he what. Back then, it wasn't PTSD; it was shell shock. Well, this guy had been on his way back to his outfit after being in the BC hospital for being shell shocked, and then we're just standing there, and he comes around the corner, and we're standing there, and he just threw his rifle in the air. Yeah, and we jumped on him, and that was the prison. So Sims and I got an R&R to Japan, and so we get in Yokohama, Japan, and they think we're movies because we got suits and ties and everything. And they think we're some kind of movie stars or something. Right? They were treating us like we were, Anyway, didn't mean to get off the point with that.
No, sir, no, sir. That's the kind of stuff we love hearing. That's the good stuff right there. That's amazing, man. I can't imagine what that. There y'all are, literally just out of the field, and SOG's got the as our friend Jason mentioned earlier, that SOG's got the world at their fingertips. You can jump on a C-130 and go to Thailand, or I should say Bangkok, you can get with Thailand, but you can go to Australia, Japan, Hawaii. And I just can't imagine what it was like for you guys, literally getting out of the field, jumping on a bird, and there y'all are with a pocket full of money, being able to do whatever a young man can do and get away with. Just beautiful. Got to keep the Recon men happy, though.
Well, the couple of guys went to Taiwan, and they were supposed to be there for 3 days. You heard about the rat?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, there's the.
Elaborate on that if you don't mind. I think the crowd would like that one.
Yeah, well, a couple of boys were in Taiwan, and 1:30, and they got back to the aircraft. Their time was cut short, so they got back to the aircraft, and there was a rat found on the aircraft, and they had to cancel the flight till they went all through the aircraft to check the wiring for the rat. But apparently, the rat came from the motel that they were staying at. That's a story. Yeah.
Yep. Anytime a rat was found, and still, guys, when I post a picture of R&R or a blackbird, they say, God always was glad when someone or found a rat, or a rat was found on the aircraft. That was an extra day. Speaking of animals, I forgot to show that. That is one of my favorite photos of you and the SF men with their snakes.
The other guy with me is John Dubois, from down your neck of the woods, Alabama.
Oh, wow. Dubois from Alabama. I'll have to see if I can. Is he still around? Do you know if he's still with us?
I believe he's still around. Yeah.
Wow. I may have to do a little searching to see if I can find this gentleman. That's a great Tiger Stripe formation.
If you go back there, I'll point something out to you.
Yes, sir. Let me pull this back up. Of course, once you share it once, it's going to act like it's already been shared. Hang on 1 second. Technology. There we go. One. Boop.
Yeah. Okay. If you see behind my back, there's like a metal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that'd be 55-gallon drums that we straightened out, and
Oh,
or did straightened out, and that'd be metal. And then on the inside, they're all sandbags that are along. We sleep inside there. Now those flaps that you see, they could be put up on an angle so that the air could go through because it got so hot. There was a screen behind those here things, but they could be lifted up.
wow. Okay. I mean, that honestly, that's the first time I've ever seen and also heard of straightening out the drums in a manner for blockade with sandbags behind them.
Oh, they work great. They work
Oh,
great.
that's ingenious.
Yeah.
Did do you happen to remember, were you in country when FOB4 was overrun?
What year was that?
August 23rd of 1968.
68. I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Okay, because well, I'm sure in your reading and seeing some of the photos posted and all of that, sappers overtook the compound and it was a bloody fight, a bloody battle, bloodiest day, deadliest day for SF history.
Yeah.
Did Honak Tao, and I've got a photo of the compound. Did y'all ever experience any attempted sapper overrunnings or anything like that? Or
Not when I was with Sigma, but when I was at Chilang, when I was with the Mike Force, we had that. They tried to overrun it. They were inside the compound. I got a Bronze Star for that. Yeah, that's when I saved that fact pilot. He was shot to shit. I got to him and tried to get his intestines were all wrapped around his web gear, and I started pulling him, and I seen a grenade. I just covered him with my body, and I got blowed the fuck. But anyway, I continued to drag him back to. Anyway, yeah, that is the compound.
God almighty, sir, I didn't know that. Jesus. Yeah, that rocked my world. Yes, this is guys, this is FOB6 Honak Tao. I'm sure all of you that know the John Stryker Meyer books, he mentions FOB6. He ran a mission out of FOB6 in 68, but this is what the compound looked like. Is this what the compound looked like when you were there, Mr. Jim?
Yeah, yeah. I believe I sent you a picture.
This is actually your picture. Yes, sir.
I think that's no, that's not the one I sent you. I think that one came from Annie Beck.
Okay, it might be. Let me dig around and I might can find that one. Wow. It looks like y'all had a little bit more of a, although y'all were in the boonies, but it looked like y'all had a little bit more setup than FOB6, although they were surrounded by the Marines. It was asking for something to go wrong, and I guess you have to live and learn at some points during that. I guess comfortability, although the radio men had gotten word that something was going to go down, and I've heard the bigwigs didn't listen, but nonetheless,
That happened at times. But Sigma, we were right on the highway between Saigon and Long Binh. We were like halfway between
I just found that. That is quite the resume right there. And I'm actually going to be using this for the display purposes. Long Binh, is that so Long Binh, Honak Tao was near Long Binh where the jail was?
Yeah, Long Binh was a huge American base. I don't know what I see. I'm calling in a dust off. I think there. I didn't see what the article was.
that one. I think this is a Mike Force, and I've just got to show it because it's my favorite. One of my, you've got so many, but that is my favorite photo so far of you. The
I
two-finger
got a lot.
salute.
There's a lot of interesting comments from some of the boys saying how clean I was. But my mission at the time, I was Recon, but we were escorting a Cambodian general. We were like his bodyguards back to Cambodia. We were just bodyguards for him. They had a big powwow about an operation that was going to happen along the fence, and it was made mostly Vietnamese LLDB, Vietnamese Special Forces.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we were just escorting. And I was on my way back, and somebody put the camera up, and
that is absolutely wonderful. Great photograph. You guys, I swear, if someone had the foresight and the money, and I keep saying it, and there is a SOG pic. Well, I can't say that. Excuse, I just said anything. Y'all be surprised. If a vet would put up the money with all the veterans that are making so much money today and owned a vet-owned run studio, we could have so many good films, and it doesn't have to be blood and guts and all of that, but because I think you could actually not only make a great SOG miniseries like Band of Brothers or a Mike Force Band of Brothers, but you could also do a funny side, like an Animal House version of what you guys did, because y'all put Animal House to shame. I mean, John Belushi, who? Let's see.
The only way to stay sane.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. When and we keep going back and forth, but when you originally are getting with the 4-core Mike Force, no, I'm sorry, with a 404, aren't you originally did you re-up because you had a buddy that had a wife and children and you were worried about him?
Well, actually, what happened, the Sergeant Major wanted me to extend, and I did. My buddy, he was a medic, and he went back. Matter of fact, he went back to the States to get married, and he came right back. And then he had just had a kid. His name was Rocky Stone, and so I was in the club one night, and Sergeant Major was after me to extend. And I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. You send me out to the airboats, and I'll extend. And so he said, okay, you're on your way to the airboats. And so I extended, and my buddy made it back, and he's got a big family, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
I thought it was quite touching and beautiful, if I remember the story correctly, but you actually got in contact with his son or grandson?
Well, actually, when we got back, I stopped in at his place in Pennsylvania on the way back here to Canada, and I spent a week with his family. Wow! They wanted to thank me, for blah blah blah. Anyway, yeah. So I stopped there, met the family and whatnot, and a couple of years ago, his son sent me a picture of just after he was born, and he was in Rocky's arms, and now he's got his own kids. Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
And that's very cool for him to literally say, without you taking care of my dad, none of this would have been possible. I mean,
yeah,
it's almost enough to bring a tear. It's almost like someone's cutting onions in the room with me right now.
Well, every Christmas, Rocky gives me a call.
Wow. I mean, that's another thing with you guys, how close. It's amazing.
Yeah.
the bonds built in combat are just unbreakable.
That's the airboats. I think that's Rocky there standing, looking into the boat. He's on the dock.
Right here where my cursor is.
Yeah.
I don't mean to ask, and you can I won't take it as offense, but would you mind sharing his last name? Is it Versace or the POW
Stone.
vet? No,
Stone.
Stone.
Stone. Yeah.
Wow, Rocky Stone. And another thing that I found out, because guys, he's got a lot of great photos, and I'm about to ask one about this, but it's interesting how many SOG vets that I found that were at CCN. I mean, again, not a lot, but maybe 2 or 3 that came from A404 who were on the airboats. And actually, there's a plaque that was hanging in one of the Recon team's room of all of the fallen men from A404, which I thought was very interesting.
Well, the thing is, in Fourth Corps, during the rainy season, everything would flood. So the A teams, they couldn't pull recon, they couldn't pull missions, they couldn't do anything because everything was flooded. So we would go around different A teams and do recon to make so that the enemy couldn't move in large size elements to attack the A team.
And I've got a great photo. I'll bring it up that really drives the point home. I mean, when he says, "Guys, monsoon season's crazy," monsoon season's crazy because during monsoon season, parts of the land where he was battling would be chest deep, and then when he's back later on running operations, it's literally dry as a bone to where you can see a dike that would normally be, way underwater. I mean, it's just crazy. The weather patterns. I mean, it's like Forrest Gump says, it's always raining. It rains upside down, sideways. Where was this based on the dock? I'm not sure how many quote unquote refueling points you guys had, but would this be considered A404's home base right here, or?
It could. I don't think so, though. I don't think the compound was that big.
Oh, wow.
This must have been. Yes.
And we see.
But I could be wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I don't think. I don't know.
Did all of your boats have 50s, or were M60s, or what was the preferred?
They had most of the boats had 30. I had a 50 on mine, but most
Nice.
the other boats had a 30. And there were some people tried the 50, but they couldn't really get it mounted correctly. Mark Stidman, him and Sergeant Blue was a medic. They tried, but I guess I had better Filipino tech reps.
And this just jogged my memory because I know of a sergeant or a Blue that was a medic. Was Mr. Blue
Exactly.
African American?
Yes.
Yes. Wow. I know. Yeah. I've heard a lot about that gentleman.
Fantastic. Yeah. One of the best.
Wow. And I was curious ever since you sent this photo, what in the heck is going on here? Is he stuck, or is he just traversing and going up to the other boats?
Well,
here?
I've got 2 photos here. The last one is still it's still going fuzzy. I see half of it. I got an idea what he's doing. He's going into the compound.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, it's still flickering.
Did it pop up?
I've got 2 pictures. One is flickering, and
let's see.
Okay, he's going into our compound.
Okay. Wow. That had to be such an
Okay,
amazing job.
oh yeah.
And I imagine all of these are, well, there's some more barrels made out for revetment, but
Yeah,
your gasoline and all of that, arms and everything is up here.
all in, over to the left. You're going into what you're looking at is like maybe a third of the compound. Most of the compound would be to the left.
Wow.
That's where, yeah.
And you weren't you loud and proud and rocked the maple leaf on the on one of your boats, the Canadian flag?
Yeah.
Excellent. Did you have the full flag, or did you get a sticker for
I
one of the back fan rudders?
I had a big flag, Canadian flag on my antenna. It confused some people, I guess.
It's like I didn't think Canadians were here.
They
Um,
had these big battleships in the Mekong, and they're just anchors there. They're artillery or whatnot for, and I'd go up there with a couple of airboats, and to be all the Vietnamese to be around their sampans, getting close to the ships, and they'd ask me, and I'd just go and uh, they'd move off.
Gosh, that is just too cool. Um, Stepping back, we've mentioned his name a few times. I've got some great photos of Mr. Manny here. This is a hilarious one you sent me that I had to show. Um, how did you
Yeah,
first come across Mr. Manny?
we were at Sigma together. The guy Manny's on the right. Bob Lee's is in the center, and I think Bob went to CCC.
He went to CCC, yes, sir.
Yeah, and then it's myself. That's the SKS. Now the thing about that SKS, it's got Chinese markings on it.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, hold on. It's over
Uh-oh.
my left shoulder.
Oh, wow. I was wondering if that was it because I remember
That's
you
it.
telling me that
Yeah,
you got it home. And guys,
yeah.
if y'all see right over there, he's got looks like a a FAL and then his SK over his left shoulder. But that's amazing. That's very cool. What did you get to shoot the SKS very ever? Did you shoot it a time or two? I've always heard it was quite reliable. I mean, not like the AK-47 and all that, but
I've used it to hunt here. I got a
oh,
couple of deer. I got a couple of deer with it here, and I got the ammunition I got from Sweden.
oh,
So
okay.
yeah,
That seems like that would be a great deer rifle.
yeah.
And here is Mr. Manny out front of Sigma, one of the photos he has let us use right here.
Yeah.
Welcome to Sigma. And Mr. Manny, what was Mr. Manny's role? He was a sergeant and also a recon team leader as well.
Right. When Manny got there, they sent him to up to Trang and Trang to Recondo school. So he
Oh,
was up there. I don't know how. I'm not sure if he was there a month or 5 or 6 weeks. But while he was up there, I was working.
busy in the bush, shall we say? Um,
Bullshit.
we see all kind of different weapons with the projects. A lot of AKs as you mentioned earlier, but Mr. Manny's guys all with the M16s. Were Car 15s floating their way around at this point in time, or were they still just the 16s?
They were just starting to come around then.
Did you by chance get to use one or ever
Oh yeah,
you did?
yeah. but I prefer the AK or the Grishka. The thing about using those weapons were, if you did make contact, it was a confusing factor, right? They didn't know if I was friendly or, and it gave you that at 10 or 15 seconds. That's all it took to get the fuck away, you know. I mean,
Absolutely.
really, it did. You know, you could disappear fast in the jungle. Just stay quiet. Don't breathe.
Y'all's tradecraft is just absolutely amazing. As a matter of fact, you might have your AK right there. I can't quite tell, but you and your indigenous trooper with you.
Yeah, he was a Cambodia interpreter.
Were your Cambodes? We kind of hear, not all the time, but we kind of hear sometimes the Cambodes weren't all, shall we say, up to snuff to some guys' standards. Were your Cambodes pretty fearsome, loyal guys?
They were. They were. Now the ones that we had, usually the troops we've had them there for a long while, right? So they were loyal. And the Cambos at other, maybe at A teams or something like that, would be, I don't know, different.
Yeah, I can imagine when you're in the projects, it's a whole different caliber, both Americans and Indige wise, shall we say. I've kind of noticed also there, Mr. Paul or Ray Heath, he liked to wear the, shall we say, the cravat Rambo style. I've seen some other guys wear their boonies. Did you have a preference? Did you wear a cravat in the Rambo style? Did you wear your boonie cap?
The thing about wearing a boonie cap, you're getting in the helicopters, you got all that, it's gone, right? So by having this on, it more or less stuck to your head.
That's your decorations. I need to move that off. It's got some information I'll black out. There's Mr. Jim. That's George Flanagan. Here we are. This was an interesting photo Mr. Maney shared with me. Mr. Richard Pass, I've got some photos of him. He went on to Omega. But that's the club shot, which leads me to my next one. And someone had asked about Sigma's FAC/aerial observation platforms. And did you do what we hear about SOG troopers doing, overflights, checking for LZs and such as that?
Yeah, I flew. Well, I think this one here, I was coming back from flying Covey. When you flew Covey, you had your map, and the team on the ground would either give you a panel or a mirror, and you were able to give them their location, if there are any obstacles ahead, if they're looking for an LZ to get out, if there are ever rivers or roads. So that was the job of the FAC. And the FAC pilot was flying. We wouldn't fly right over the team. We'd fly off. And the FAC would also, if the team got into contact, when the gunships got there, the FAC would, smoke grenade, would he be able to put the smoke grenade in and to where they wanted the gunships to attack.
Wow. And is this a your personal flight suit that that every Covey pilot would, or Covey rider would get, so to speak?
Some guys wore camouflage fatigues, regular fatigues. That ever happened to have. I had that. It was more comfortable. Sitting in the back seat there with just something on it. I'd carry a rifle and some web gear, but that'd be between my feet, right?
That was literally my next question. What was your quote unquote loadout for when you were doing Covey duties? Definitely a rifle.
Oh, you take a rifle, you'd have 45. Yeah, I was carrying 45. Some guys had 38s. But, yeah, because you never know if you were going to get shot down or not, right?
Absolutely. Did
So
you?
you had to be
We've asked some guys, and it just sometimes it looks like it depends on the year. Sometimes it depends on the guy's age or where they were at. Were you a believer or a user in carrying a sidearm as well as your primary weapon, or did you only rely on your primary?
Oh no, well, we all carried a 45. I carried a 22 silencer. I, you know,
Knives.
carry.
Did you have a preferred knife that you carried, or did just any old good Gerber or something like that would do?
I had a lot of knives. Demo knife was the best knife, you know. Yeah, but demo knife, you could do almost things with a demo knife. But as far as Rambo knives and whatnot, I don't recall that. You know.
I've got a demo knife that a CCS medic gave to me with some of the other stuff, and I can see what you're talking about. It's almost like a Swiss Army knife.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's Mr. Ray Heath, one of Mr. Manny Beck's buds. Looks like he's got a Sten gun. But is that a Sten gun, Mr. Jim?
I can't really tell.
With that angled magazine and that or that leather grip, it kind of looks like it's a silent Sten gun. Or
Could be. I can't really tell.
yeah, my eyes are turning to garbage from reading baby print without glasses, and I'm just
Wait till you
can't.
get to be 80.
I was about to say I'm already fighting the urge to wear glasses reading at 30, 34, or well, God, I'll be 35 this year, but I got to do it because it's literally losing my eyesight every week. How I needed to ask, we've been on a roll here. We're at an hour and 15 minutes. Do we want to put a post in this and maybe get
How
a
about
part
that?
two?
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Okay.
I need a drink.
Yes, sir. I actually need to use the restroom. There was one thing as we were closing out for one last question, and I've got the rest of them marked down. With Sigma, you mentioned Mr. Manny going up to Natrang.
I
He was
believe it's
actually,
the train.
I
Yeah.
believe he was one of the first men to go through the 1-0 school with Jim Bolin teaching at, I believe it started at Long Time. Did you ever happen to attend 1-0 school or Recondo school?
No, no,
No.
no,
Wow.
no.
Well, considering all the work you had already done, it didn't seem like you probably needed it, to be honest with you.
I don't know. Could have used it probably.
Maybe, but I mean, heck, by the time you got to Sigma with all the ambushes and all that you'd been running, and then your first couple missions, I mean, I hear stories of guys going on 5, 6 missions and going to 1-0 school, and it's like I didn't learn anything. I basically had the week off and did an exercise at the end, but to each their own.
No, I was very fortunate that I had the people that I came in contact. They took care of me. They thank God for them. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. And
True that.
that's the only reason I'm here, because I had some fantastic people working with me. Or
True.
I would work with.
And we're gonna get into some of those people next week, such as this gentleman, one of my favorite SOG men, absolutely stud of a man, Mr. Bill Spurgeon, who was with.
Don't believe a thing he says about me.
I've been told that by several SOG men. He's like, "Don't you dare believe a word that man says."
No, that's Bill. That's when we were in Thailand. Yeah, he's a hell of a man. I really respect him.
He is outstanding man, warrior, and just a class act. Love that camouflage he's wearing, but just a great man. And we're going to be hearing a little bit more about him on part two, because I've still got a few questions that we didn't cover. We got into a lot of great stuff, but we've still got Thailand to talk about. And I think a few more little interesting tidbits that y'all are going to like. And there are some viewer questions I did not get to today, and I apologize. We will get into those. I've already written those down for when we do a part 2. And I will be staying in touch with Mr. Jim, and whenever he gets free time, we'll do a part 2. We'll go by his schedule. So you guys just keep a lookout for everything, and we'll keep everything up to date and let y'all know when we're going to go ahead with part 2. Mr. Jim, is there anything you would like to say as we close out for the afternoon?
Well, Bud, I want to thank you for what you do, getting the history out. And I'd also like to mention Jason Collins and Pucker Factor.
Mm-hmm.
And have a great day.
Yes, sir. Jason is a good friend of mine. He's your fellow Canadian. And guys, Jason runs a great Facebook group with SOG, with all of the gentlemen in there, including Mr. Jim and myself. And he also puts out these wonderful, in the words of the veterans themselves, literally their stories put in print. So I can't thank you enough. I can't thank Jason enough for kind of helping us get connected, if you will. And we'll have a good part 2 set up. So thank you for joining us. We had you way too long. Bud. I apologize, and we'll get part 2 set up sometime in the next week or so.
You got a little Canadian in you. You apologized.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
You can ask the group. I'm a bad apologizer. In fact, some people have had to tell me, please stop apologizing. So I might actually have a little Canadian in me.
Well, there you go.
Yes, sir.
Have a good one.
Yes, sir. You be good.